Uh, Good evening. The Who's today were on at Hawkesbury, the Clarendon course. Um, Yesterday, of course, was Wednesday. It was an Australian Turf Club meeting transferred to Newcastle. There was no report yesterday. I didn't go and work at Newcastle for the simple reason, 4 in a row, travel up to Newcastle, come back, of course, had to do the form, caught up with all my work, drive back from Newcastle, do the form today for Hawkesbury. Wyong is on tomorrow, and then of course come home from Wyong and then do the form for Saturday. It's a bit much, so I never went to Newcastle yesterday. And just a very short report on the meeting. Yesterday the track was given out a dead 4, might have been upgraded to dead 3. The rail was in the normal position. There was a bit of a westerly, northwesterly wind breeze, which didn't have any effect on any runner. There was no bias on the track. The first winner came from last, ridden by Corey Brown. There wasn't a lot of pace on the race, and he pulled off their heels, as I say, came from last, eased off their heels in a field of 9, turning for home, came down the outside and won. And then you go all the way through to the last race where the winner, Hendrixus, it led on the fence, of course, and was able to lead all the way and stay close to it. There was no bias on the track at all. It played very fair, and to future performances, there's nothing out of the meeting that I'd say that should be followed. Even in the sprint race where Networth, who had barrier 1 and was scratched today from Hawkesbury after winning yesterday, looked very impressive. Once it got the split after being held up turning for home, it won very convincingly. But 900-metre races, they can be a trap for young players. I'm not saying it won't be winning next start, but be wary and don't take as short as odds as you may think that it should be after seeing its win at Newcastle. So that's about all I'd say there. And as I say, there's nothing out of the meeting you'd follow. As today's meeting, very similar. Percentage-wise, look, there were 7 bookies on the fence. As I've explained to you, one bookie doesn't take part. We play to an empty house all day. This game, I don't know what's happening to it, but the race course is becoming a ghost town. There's just nobody there. We're all standing, betting losing figures most races we haven't, and playing the 5 professionals. They're our customers, and they win it at the end of the year. So it just shows how hard it is for us to try and survive in this game. It's becoming cutthroat every day. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody. The barman there today I was talking to, of course, he said, well, the game's completely and utterly fly blown, and like everybody says, well, there's just far too much racing. But we've only got 92 years to go before the filthy TAB hand back to the race clubs to run their own race. It's not that long to wait, I suppose. You'll survive that long, race clubs. I wonder who was the person who signed that lease. Anyway, race 1 saw bookies give, on the screen, 104%, in the ring a lot less, 95. The winner was well backed, opened up 5-2, got out to $5, 4-1, started 3s, $4, and it only won me a half a length, but and got home beating the lead, the horse that sat second in the race, and that was Hyperion, having his first start, and beat it by a half a length, as I say. And the barrier 1 helped it. The wind there today, the rail was in the normal, was out 3 metres from the 1200 to the post. The track was given out good, and the wind went from a very southwesterly to a southeasterly to a southerly, strong southerly at times. And even though when the leaders turned for home and they ran into the wind, they were able to keep going. There was nothing wrong with the fence. The fence was by far the best place to be, even though one winner came, I'll get to that later, came from second last or even last on the fence and came widest on the turn and won. But it was an advantage to be near the lead and on the fence. The track was a very crusty surface from the frost being up at Hawkesbury, and there was a lot of kickback, and the wind, when they turned for home, it was ploughing straight into their faces, and it was very hard to make up ground out down the outside, the way the wind was blowing the kickback into the other horses' faces. And barrier one saved was the main factor why the first winner was able to get home. The pros were on it, of course. It was the pros who had the large plate. Race 2, 97.9 on the flux screen, only 94. Well, 94 if you shopped in the ring, a little bit better. We're just giving money away, of course. And the winner, after the horse that ran second in this race, Agent, was back to there was no settling. From opened up $4, got to $4.60. It changed tables. Hawks has got it now, Team Hawks, and it sat third, looking at the 2 leaders. Only went down by half a length, and it was $4.60 into $2.80 taken. Started $2.70 hard to get, and like a fool, I was standing there for a good bit of section. I only marked the winner 3-1 Perfect Rouge. I did see $6 on one board at one stage, plenty of $5.50. I shouldn't have given the $5 I did. Finish up breaking square in the race, but the second horse would have been a disastrous result. But I should have played a better hand than I did, and not given the winner the $5 after marking it only 4. But that's what happens in this game. Off goes your head, and on goes a pumpkin, as they say. And the pros backed 2 runners in this race, and they ran the Quinella. Race 3, 107.3, a little bit less, 105, but there were runners in this race that never had prices. They returned at $1.70, the winner, Frankfurter, who sat outside the lead. I was $1.80 when they jumped. There was no one there to take the $1.80. Sat outside the horse that ran second, Tiger's Fury, trained by Gay, and Frankfurter was always travelling better than it, turned for home. And Karen McAvoy, he was able to get away and win by 2.5 lengths. There's nothing else to say in the race. The second pick in the race, Paper Heart, it sat midfield, third on the fence, eased, got a split turning for home, eased off heels, and was ran into third hole, beaten 4 lengths. There were runners in that race who just never had names. It was hopeless, and you lose on the race. The $1.80 was taken at one stage. Race 4, on the screen, 107.5%, a lot before, a lot less in the main ring in the betting. If you shopped, 98.5. That was before the scratching. The bottom one, War Chief, which was 20s out to 40s, never had a name. And winning this race was Mistress Padiral. I was $7 when they jumped. Couldn't lay it, although I did lay it before that at $6. And the second horse would have been a great result for me, trial ground. It wasn't able to cross the leader, Swoon, who was having his first start was having a second start in the race, and he sat half a length in front of it all the way, Blake, and he couldn't Blake Shinny couldn't cross it, but did finally get to the lead before the turn. That effort sitting outside the leader, half a length in front of it, a neck, it might have told the story. When he got to the lead, he fought on very well and went down by 3/4 of a length to Mistress Bradil, as I say, who sat behind the pace and got a split turning for home, and in between runners, and got the chocolates. And Magic Tails, who was very well backed, it was $5 into $3.80. They gave $5, $3.80 it started, and it was it got into third, had every possible chance, sat third, and it got beat 1.1 lengths. As another race where it was hard to lay quite a few runners that were in the market. One being the opening favourite, On Hand of Faith. I must admit, you could have laid it early at $3.60 and $3.50. I wound it off not knowing the horse, and thought it could have been was going to start shorter. Comes from Queensland, trained by Barley, but it was $4 at the finish begging, and not a taker in sight, and I completely missed it. And it was first and second there was a big difference to me. Race 5, 109.7 on the screen. I need 100 in the ring, and I had a terrible result in this race. Fell for the 3-card trick again. There were no. Gay had the first and second picks in the race. The winner, ridden by Nash, champion Nash. He went straight to the lead, which is Gay and Nash's position, and controlled the race. Sitting on the south side was Caught the Cat, who didn't have a price. Went from $7 out to $16, and ran accordingly. And Gay and Nash combined, as I say, controlling the race up front. It won by 5 lengths. Nash just steering it down the straight, never in doubt. A horse that made up plenty of ground in this race was the third place getter, having his third start in the race, Street Savvy, ridden by Jeff Penza, got well back in the race, and it came down the outside, which was, as I said before, a bit hard to make up ground down the outside, and ran third, beaten 5.2 lengths. I suppose it'll find a maiden somewhere soon. But even though this winner's won by 5 lengths, it's hard to tell how much Nash had up his sleeve. He was sort of half educating the horse, had quite a few barrier trials, but I suppose when it goes to the city next start, it'll be well in the market, if not favourite. And Gay's other runner, Laid Back Larry, well, it sat in 4th, 5th position, and it finished up running 4th. And that's about all I'd say there. We'll let the telephone ring. Now, race 6, the flux screen said 104.7. There was 96% given only in the ring. And this winner was the runner that came from well back in the field, actually last on the fence, Surdy Moss. It was last inside the 200-to-1 chance Katazan before coming down the side. Katazan just dropped off a bit. It finished up running last, and it was the winner was ridden by Jay Ford. He made a quick dash before the turn, and was coming very fast. Was coming very fast before Nathan. I'm just doing this thing. Can I ring you back in 1 minute? I'll ring you straight back, mate. It was coming. The winner, Surdy Moss. It settled down enough. It came very wide on the turn, but was coming very quick. I suppose Win looks really good, considering the kickback it had to put up with, but it finished up winning by 1.8 lengths. I just wonder in this field, not that it won't win again, Surdy Moss, but there might have been a few runners in this race that, or there are a team of trotters that mightn't have been right, and not that they went hard up in front, but you don't give the winner, even though it can't run against the bias bit, as big a tick. Give it a tick, but not as big a tick as you may think to give it. What else? So the horse that ran second in the race, Double Crescent, it sat third on the fence and got a split around their heel, so it had every possible chance. The winner was very late into the enclosure for the 2 or 3 horse lookers who get there. It was caused a bit of trouble last starting in the parade ring down at Nowra, and apparently kicked out in a stall here today, and was brought straight into the parade ring and taken straight around to the barrier. Nobody had a good look at it. Anyway, that was about the race. Race 7 on the screen, 105.6 in the marketplace, 98%. The barrier, it could have gone around them turning for home and won. The winner, Miss Reddy, started favourite, opened up 5-2, $3.50, got down to $4.60, which is taken, was the first horse back, into $3.80, hard to get, touched $3.60 at one stage, got back out to $3.80 on my board when they jumped. It had barrier 1, sat behind the pace, and when they turned for home, the runner that was leading on the fence Aqualita. It got off the fence under a bit of pressure. It was $12 out to $18. Didn't have a price. You couldn't write its name in the ledger. And of course, Miss Reddy just went straight inside it and won by 2 3/4 lengths. The horse who ran second was sitting on its outside to the turn, Mossman Flyer. It had to go around a couple of runners where the winner went inside, but it still wouldn't have beaten it. The margin was 2.8 lengths, as I say. And not a bad run against the bias was the 150 to 1 chance, the bottom one, Sauvage. It was last turning for home and came down the outside. Go back to the country, I suppose, and it'll start favourite wherever it runs. And I suppose it might have a chance. It was 150 to 1 today. Sailed down and got past some horses in this race. So the ones that have got past, yeah, you can put a bit of a line through them next up. They were very, very ordinary runs. The top weight in that race, it was very hard to lay can. Just opened up $2.80, got out to $4.20. Was taken at one stage, started $4. The figures were hopeless. How do you work on it? The pros got the cash again. Come the last, 110.1 on the screen for the robots. In the ring, 103 with lots of runners unlayable. The favourite, Blakey Boy, it's only gone down by 0.1 of a length, and Nash apparently dropped his whip in the concluding stages. Whether that made a difference or not, giving it one nice kiss around the backside. Whether that made a difference or not, I don't know. I'll have to look at the tape a bit closer. But as I say, he went down by 0.1 one of a length, sat just behind them, getting a good suck up, came ease off their heels, turning for home. There were plenty of horses spread across the track at halfway up the straight, and coming off barrier 1, saving ground, being slightly held up, turning for home, was the winner. The Alleys obviously won at the race. So saved ground all the way down the side, sat midfield on the fence, eased off heels, got a split, and it won the race. Carve them up. Was a good result for bookies. Went from $13, 12 to 1, out to $19, not layable. By the same token, there were lots of runners in the race that weren't layable, and the disappointing run was Pleasure of Pain, who started $6 at the death. $8 was given. It sat third on the fence behind the lead from barrier 4. Got a split turning for home around leader's heels. Looked like it was going to win, but it dropped out in around about 8th, and it was disappointing for the ones that were in the market. As I say, the Alley has most probably won the win of the race. I laid some good bets in this race. 3,200 to 2,000. Blakey Boy, 3,000 to 2,000, plus a few others. But there were lots of other runners that were unlayable. I laid a couple of them that stood the favourite for plenty, and I suppose I was lucky to get the chocolates. And that was about the meeting. There's nothing out of the meeting that you should be following. There's a lot of runners in the race at the meeting that put their hand up and showed just how ordinary they are. So good luck. We're off to Wyong tomorrow. I'll say a few words tomorrow night about Wyong, and then we've got to back up, of course, on Saturday. That's about all I'd say. Good night.